We've got a big Rams injury report, updated playoff odds, keys to victory, and everything you need to know about this Rams-Commanders matchup on Sunday. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor, join the party, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit that like button, and also drop your predictions for this Sunday's matchup against the Commanders. We want some score predictions. We want your biggest keys. Drop those. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on the X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 Sports, Dodgers Nation, SI. Now the Rams 4 Locked On. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 8th season covering your Los Angeles Rams. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. We got the People's Champ. Today's show, it is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Now, we got a jam-packed Football Friday show here on Locked On Rams. We got injury reports. We got keys to the game. We got key matchups. We got predictions. But first, we're going to start with the injury report, Travis. Rob Havenstein was not a participant for the second straight day. It was the only Rams player to miss practice. That, to me, is the big one. It does feel like right now they could be without Havenstein on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's obviously a very big deal. He's kind of the anchor of that offensive line. He's the veteran guy. He's the guy, I think, that kind of sets the tone for everyone else. And you know, what's so interesting to me is this is where Joe Noteboom has really thrived. It's in situations like this that when we saw Havenstein go down earlier this season and Noteboom gets put into that right tackle spot, he's done pretty well. Where Joe Noteboom struggles is when it's like, okay, you are the left tackle. Okay, you are the left guard. And then it just seems like he can't kind of find his footing. But go back a couple of years ago when he filled in for Andrew Whitworth during the Super Bowl run, he was really good. You go back a couple of weeks ago when he filled in for Rob Havenstein, not so bad. So I'm optimistic that Noteboom can kind of step in if, in fact, he needs to do it. But if the Rams are going to go to the playoffs, if the Rams are going to go through this next 3-game gauntlet, Rob Havenstein is going to probably need to be a part of that. He's a very important part of what they do, and him being out potentially is a big deal.
Yeah, and you bring up Joe Noteboom. He did a really nice job filling in for him on Sunday. He allowed 6 pressures, but didn't allow a sack. And like you said, in that swing tackle, as a depth piece, he absolutely gives you a lift. And as far as talent around the league, is one of the more talented depth pieces that you're going to see. You don't love him as a starter. You don't look at that contract. That's a different conversation. But in this role, it's definitely good to have Joe Noteboom in this situation. Glad they didn't trade him earlier, because without Rob Havenstein out there, he definitely gives them a chance to keep Matthew Stafford vertical. Also, you got Tutu Atwell, who's still in the concussion protocol, but it does appear that he has been making significant progress. He was limited in practice along with Ben Skoranek and Michael Hoyt yesterday. Typically, it's rare to see a player just go through that concussion protocol and make it on Sunday. But look, the good news about all of this is DeMarcus Robinson, he's absolutely stepped up. He's a great target for Matthew Stafford. I don't think they're going to miss too much if Tutu's out.
Yeah, this is the silver lining of an unfortunate situation, right? You don't want to see Tutu or anybody else for that matter miss time, especially because of a concussion. Those are always incredibly scary. Tutu has had a bit of an injury history so far in his career with the Rams, so that's not a good deal. But DeMarcus Robinson's been pretty good. You know, this is why you put guys like that on your team. That when you have a situation arise where you need to put a guy in who maybe hasn't played a ton of football throughout the entire season, they can step in and keep the thing moving. They're not going to come in and be a difference maker necessarily. They're not going to come in and score a bunch of touchdowns or, catch for 200 yards or anything, but They're going to go the right way. They're going to know they're going to read the defense correctly. They're going to read it the same way the quarterback reads it. Veteran players are much more able to kind of step into that void like Robinson is. And we've seen it the last couple of weeks. He's got a touchdown 2 weeks in a row. He really seems to have, and, I guess we'll never know, but maybe even if Tutu doesn't get dinged, maybe he kind of loses that spot anyway. It felt like that's kind of the direction it was trending in. Maybe this kind of accelerates that process. But while it's unfortunate that a guy with Tutu's speed is not going to be there, I don't think that the Rams offense is all that different. And quite frankly, I think it might be a little better with Robinson than with Atwell.
You're absolutely right. The production's just there. He had 3 catches for 46 yards, had a touchdown. Then against the Browns, he had 4 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown. So like you mentioned, 2 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. So touchdown, and that kind of production. And also the chemistry has been building between him and Matthew Stafford. Stafford's talked glowingly about him. And, when that means something. If Matthew Stafford is kind of calling you one of his guys, that's definitely meaningful moving forward. So, yeah, they're going to be just fine, but hopefully Tutu can get back and at least provide some vertical threats, draw some PIs, give them that element, and we'll see. But they'd have some pretty nice depth at that position right now. Now, also Tyler Higbee is a big one. Higbee was upgraded from limited to full participant. Sean McVay did say on Monday that he expects Higbee to play. Higbee definitely has picked it up of late, just getting in the end zone, changed all of that against the Cardinals. Davis Allen, I'm telling you, this guy has a chance to be a producer, a tight end of the future. But having Higbee back, that we need to see everyone, Higbee, Kupp, all these pieces that Matthew Stafford's come up with really start gelling and hitting their stride towards the end of the year here.
Yeah, it's funny. We mentioned it a few weeks ago when I said something along the lines of, this offense is at its absolute best when you have a running back who's kind of a dual threat. And I use Todd Gurley as the ultimate example of that. When he was able to run it for 100 yards a week, he was catching 5, 6, 7 passes for another 100 yards every week, getting in the end zone. And the Rams need to find a back that can kind of bring that element back to the offense. Well, they have. And I'm not saying Kyren Williams is the second coming of Todd Gurley, because Todd Gurley was a special player, but Williams has been really good. But now the tight end piece kind of falls off of that. We haven't had all of the pieces at the same time. Now that Higbee's back, now that Williams is playing at a high level, now you got that third wide receiver in Robinson. It feels like you're just about there when it comes to having all the elements of that offense when it's working at its best. Higbee is their best option at tight end. To your point, D-Mac, he was playing better over the last couple of weeks until he got dinged. That being said, how nice was it to see a second tight end come into the game and actually make an impact? It's been years since we've seen a tight end not named Higbee make an impact on a game. We've seen a catch here from a Blanton, a Bryson Hopkins, but never a sustained part of the offense until we saw Davis Allen last week. And it's not like he turned into Tony Gonzalez overnight, but at least it was another guy that was out there that was a threat. Higbee coming back is a big deal. It feels like the Rams are really close to having all of the elements of that offense firing the way. Star wide receiver in Kupp, star wide receiver in Nakua, a good complementary third piece in Robinson, a tight end that's playing effectively, and perhaps most importantly, that back in the backfield, Stafford's always Stafford. It feels like they're really close to kind of finally popping the whole thing wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. And Davis Allen, you could probably honestly make the case that are they better right now, Davis Allen at tight end than Higbee as far as overall production? I mean, he had 4 catches on 5 targets, 50 yards in the TD. Maybe you possibly could.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. I like veterans. I like guys that
especially this time of year, right?
Absolutely. This time of year when a mistake or two can be the difference between winning a game. Tyler Higbee's played a lot of NFL football. He's going to make the right decisions. He might not be the athlete that he once was. He might be banged up and everything else, but you trust him to do the right thing. Davis Allen looks really good. He's about as green as they get. He has not played a ton of football, and you would hate for him to make a mistake just out of inexperience that Higbee would not. But I agree with you. It looks like he could be a guy that you could use moving forward. But give me the veteran that maybe has slipped slightly athletically, but it's still sharp upstairs. Give me that guy every time.
100%. I definitely think that it's good to see at least a glimpse, to be encouraged about the future. But yeah, we know what Stafford and Higbee are capable of, and getting them on the right page. And if you want to win the playoffs, Higbee's got to step up big. Let's just be honest about it. Now, last one for the injury report. Quenton Lake was a full participant for the second straight day. He's expected to return from a hamstring injury that has sidelined him for at least 3 weeks. He's someone that had really turned it on at the star role right there in that slot corner spot, really supplanting Kobe Durant, and really how this impact Darian Kendrick. I think that was what we're probably going to see. We're probably going to see more Durant on the outside at Lake there, and I think he's someone that is really turning on, and I'm really encouraged by his play. I'm definitely excited to have him back.
Yeah, he's going to make a big difference. And I think you're right. I think he's one of those guys that adds depth, that allows people to go back to their more natural positions more often along the way. I'm sure that we're going to talk about this at some point. The fact that Sam Howell has gotten sacked nearly 60 times this year. Aaron Donald has to be licking his chops, ready to go. There's not going to be a lot of time for Sam Howell to set up and look back there. There's going to be opportunities in the secondary for turnovers. There's going to be opportunities for interceptions. There's going to be opportunities for pick sixes, all because of that pressure that comes. So Lake and Akella Witherspoon and Kendrick and Durant and Fuller and all of these guys that are back there, and John Johnson, they're going to have opportunities to have a very big day because of the pressure they're going to get up front.
They can eat, man. They can pad those stats and really earn some money on Sunday. But yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into those keys. We've got the keys that you need to know. We've got the Rams' updated playoff chances and how catastrophic a loss to the Commanders would be. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
All right, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible when you're interviewing, right? That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Think about that guy, whether we talk about sports here, right? You get the perfect person for the perfect role and the team explodes. Same for your business. And LinkedIn Job is not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have time to go through all of the resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it's quick, and it's easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Also, you know that this show, you get a ton of in-depth analysis and hot takes here, right? Well, let me give you my hottest take of the day. The best lineup in Los Angeles right now is the lineup of auto loans at Logix. They start off the top with my favorites, right? The proven and dependable new and used vehicle loans. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. Rounding out the lineup, they've got their auto refinancing loans and lease buyout loans. With these guys, you could lower your monthly payments and get on the road to owning your car faster. Look, I know it's a hot take, but seriously, no one can beat the lineup at Logix. Visit your local Logix branch right here in Los Angeles and let one of their amazing team members help you, or just apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com. That's LOGIX banking.com.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And just a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national news coverage for every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. You can see Locked On Chargers, who I'm sure having a very interesting show this morning after the Raiders dropped 1,000 on them. You probably going to listen to the Locked On Dodgers, friends Jeff Snyder and Vincent Perry. Those are my boys over there. Got a lot to talk about with Ohtani and Tyler Glasnow signing a 5-year, $135 million extension. I learned that 2 seconds ago while you were reading ads, Travis. So I'm just taking this as an opportunity to let you know that. So,
Exciting.
Yeah. So definitely go out there and check it out, because they're changing the game here at Locked On. Also, a special shout out to our everyday listeners out there. Of course, I got to give you your shout out. And you can join the Everyday Listeners Club too. give the gift of every listenership to yourself. Membership is 100% free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Now, Travis?
Yeah, D-Mac, you mentioned the Chargers. I just want to make sure that you didn't miss my 1.5 second cameo on the Amazon Open last night, that they came in to shoot at 7:10, and I was part of the opening segment. And if you blinked, you missed me, but I was in there, and it is likely that next week when the Rams play the Saints, that we'll get the same setup. So we'll get a little Locked On love going.
I got to go see that, man. I got to see it. I need the signed Blu-ray whenever I see it, man. So for sure, I can't wait to watch that. I was at the Otani.
It was the highlight of the game.
Missed it.
When you give up 69,000 points, the 1 second highlight of the local broadcaster was the highlight of the night.
Hey, Travis Rogers is on it. That's a big ratings bump right
Exactly.
there. So good stuff. So
don't blink or you'll miss it. That's for sure.
I can't wait, man. So here in our second segment, though, Travis, before we get into some of these keys, one thing we have to talk about. This cannot be undersold how big of a game this is for the Rams' playoff chances. This is an absolute must-win. The Rams' current playoff chances, according to the New York Times model, sits at 31%. If they beat the Commanders, their chances go up 9% to 40%. So not a dramatic increase, but if they lose, they drop to 9%. If the Packers, Seahawks, and Vikings lose, the Rams' odds are going to change. If they all lose, they'll go up to 56%. If the Packers and Vikings lose, if the Rams lose and the other three teams also lose, they'll drop to 13%. So one thing I want to point out, it's not a situation where you lose and he's like, okay, if they all lose, we're going to be fine. No, you have to win this Sunday or you most likely will not make the playoffs.
The playoffs have started for the Rams. It may not be the official playoff, logo on the field and all that stuff. The Rams have a 3-game mini tournament that they have to run the table in if they're going to get to the bigger tournament. Think of it like the in-season tournament in the NBA. It starts on Sunday against the Commanders. If you don't win, it's over. I know the math might say you have a 9% chance. You have a 0% chance. It's not going to happen. You have to win that game. And you have to win against New Orleans. You have to beat Tommy DeVito and his awesome agent on the second to last Sunday of the season, because you can't get into a situation where you have to beat San Francisco's going to be playing for things. San Francisco's playing for the first round bye. San Francisco will play their guys in week 18 up at Levi Stadium. The playoffs have started now for the Rams. It is a really good opponent, a really good opportunity for the Rams to kind of restart some momentum. And it's funny, you're asking the Rams to win 6 out of 7 games. They won 3 in a row. They lost in Baltimore. Now you're asking them to win 3 or more in a row again. 6 out of 7. I don't care if you're the best team in the league. That's really, really hard to do, and they have to do it if they're going to get there. And because none of the comeback, none of any of the things that have been exciting for us over the last month or so, they're all out the window if you lay an egg against Washington.
100%. Have to win. There is no alternative. You want the playoffs this week. You can't slip up. And yes, this is an opponent where it's the Commanders, one of the worst teams in the NFL, but the line still under 7 points.
Yeah.
This is still the National Football League. Nothing's guaranteed to this Rams team. Now, the next big question becomes, how do they not stub their toe, right? How do they win this game? Well, first thing, Matthew Stafford, keep playing like the rent is due. I mean, you've seen his performances last couple of weeks against 2 of the best defenses in the National Football League, the Browns and the Ravens. He's been going off. If you look at his last 3 games, I mean, you're talking about 3 games, 10 touchdowns, just 1 interception that span, going against the best defenses in the NFL. You look at this Commanders team, they've been barbecue brisket in the secondary. They've given up 3,458 yards through the air. That's the most in the NFL. They allowed 30 TD passes. That's the most in the NFL. There's 6 interceptions. That's tied for the 6th lowest. 7.2 net yards per play. That's the highest in the league. Their DVOA last in the league there as far as secondary goes. There's no reason why the Rams shouldn't put up points and get production through the air against this weak Commanders secondary.
The Rams offense has been really good. All of the things that you're talking about with the Washington defense lead you to believe that it's not very good. How do you lose a game like that? How does it stay much closer than it probably should? How does something weird happen at the end of the game? You turn it over. Right? As long as the Rams hold on to the ball, as long as Matthew Stafford, and I don't want to turn him into some game manager. I don't want him to just, dink and dunk and check down all day. Play Matthew Stafford type of football. But if they don't turn the ball over, they're going to win the game. Where the way that you lose the game is you give Washington a couple of short fields. You turn what should be a touchdown for you into a turnover in the red zone. Just hold on to the ball. You're going to get to how Aaron Donald may get, have one of those days that we're talking about for a very long time. You might see a multiple sack day from multiple Rams defensive players. But if you turn the ball over on offense, it kind of negates all of that stuff. Play clean football, play smart football, give it to Kyren Williams over and over and over again. I don't want to say get conservative because don't play to not lose, but let's be smart about what you do. Let's make good decisions. Let's be aggressive on offense within reason. And I think that's the path to victory, because if they go out there and try to light it up and take a bunch of chances, then all of a sudden it's, hey, he threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. You just let an inferior team hang around way too long, and then that brings in randomness. Get up early, control clock. Washington wants to let go of the rope. They want to go home. The season's over for them. Give them a good reason to quit, and the reason you keep them in it is by turning it over.
Absolutely, Travis. I love how you point that out, as far as you don't want to get too pass happy just because you're going to have such an advantage there. Yep. You want to do what has gotten to you to where you are, winning 3 of your last 4, and that's by having a balanced attack. You mentioned Kyren Williams. Matthew Stafford absolutely is the most important person on this offense. I see people trying to make the case it's Kyren Williams. It's not Kyren Williams. He's not more important than Matthew Stafford, but he is the next most important person on that offense. And he's carried the ball at least 21 times in the last 2 games. If I get 21 again, I'm feeling good about my chances. I love what you point about the turnovers. Don't get sloppy. Don't get complacent. Yep. He rushed for 114 yards against that Ravens defense. He's just 199 yards away from a 1,000-yard season, and he missed 4 games. And you look at this Commanders defense, they're 8th in run defense DVOA. If you look at the success he had against the Ravens, that absolutely is a massive key. Kyren Williams, keep doing what you do. Really, outside of Christian McCaffrey, he might be playing as well as anyone at that position in the league.
He's been a revelation. Like, I'm almost reluctant to talk about him too much because he has had a history of missing time. Basically missed all of last year. He missed a chunk of the middle of this year. With him, they're an entirely different football team. I couldn't change a word of what you said, D-Man. Stafford's the guy, but Kyren Williams has very clearly elevated himself into a solid second most important guy in what they do. If he's able to continue to play the way that he has, they're going to continue to win games. If he continues to have the production that he has both in the running game and in the pass catching game, in the pass protection game, they're going to win games. But I don't want to jinx it too much. I am a little bit superstitious. Just keep playing him the way he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
100%. Now, in our next segment, we got some more keys. We got some key matchups. And then finally, we've got predictions. Rams, Commanders this Sunday. We're breaking it all down here on Locked On Rams. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
Locked On Rams is sponsored by BetterHelp, right? The holidays are fun. The holidays are exciting. They can also be a little stressful, right? They can also come with a lot of stuff that maybe brings up a lot of emotions that maybe aren't that great. Do you exchange gifts? Do you go on vacations? Is there expenses that come up that maybe you're a little worried about? Donations, right? And you're not just focusing on all the good stuff. And the holidays can bring up all of that stuff. Therapy can help, right? So if you've been thinking about it, this is a great opportunity for you to do it with BetterHelp, right? So if you've thought about it, BetterHelp might be the right place for you. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it doesn't click with that therapist, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. So in the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Travis, here in our third segment, got some quick hitter key matchups I think that our fans need to definitely know of. And now I think the first one, Aaron Donald versus Sadiq Charles. And the reason why I bring this one up is Aaron Donald last week didn't have a sack, didn't have a tackle, but did leave the team with 8 pressures. He was doubled and triple teamed. And you look at that matchup. So Chris Paul, not the Chris Paul, the CP3. This is more like CP0, the way that this guy has filled in for Sadiq Charles. He has a 29.6 pass blocking grade, filling in for Sadiq Charles. But Charles is back. He missed last 6 games with a calf injury. He's going to be matched with Aaron Donald. And AD getting past him and getting to the QB is going to really help this Rams defense wreak some havoc.
I would imagine that Aaron Donald, when he got on that plane in Baltimore to come back to Los Angeles after that the game against the Ravens, was not in a great mood. Because like you mentioned, Lamar Jackson's one of the few quarterbacks he's never gotten his hands on in this league, and he got really close a whole bunch of times. I would imagine that's a pretty frustrating day for AD. He's going to have a little bit of something extra. Aaron Donald's always highly motivated. Aaron Donald always plays as hard as he can, but there is something about, all right, just that frustration that comes along with it. And I think Sadiq Charles and I think Sam Howell are the guys that are going to be the recipients of that frustration from a week ago. Sam Howell has been sacked 58 times this season, 58 through 13 games, right? So you're looking at a 70 sack season is a realistic possibility. The Rams could juice that number right away. He got sacked 9 times against the Buffalo Bills earlier this season, 9 times in one game. So they're going to be able to get after him in a way that I don't think that we've seen a lot. We know that Byron Young has kind of found his groove. We know that Kobe Turner has really kind of found his groove. Michael Hoyt got in on it a little bit last week. But 99 could absolutely have one of those days that we're talking. Hey, remember when Aaron Donald had 5 sacks against the Commanders? It could be one of those kind of days.
Yeah, and you mentioned how I love you to point out the sacks. I mean, that is insane. I mean, he's literally been sacked 10 more times than anyone else in the NFL. Also, an NFL high 14 interceptions. So get a turnover, get to the quarterback, have a day Rams defense. They haven't been the most explosive defense. This could be the day where they can accumulate some statistics, right? Like you mentioned, sacks and interceptions and things like that. So that's one also. Steve,
let's see a defensive touchdown. That used to be something that the Rams were. Yeah, let's see that little celebration in the end zone with the defense. We haven't seen that in a long time. And that's how a game that goes from 3 points, 6 points, 7 points to all right. There's a 2 touchdown lead. Get a defensive touchdown
away
and put them away. Exactly right.
Now, also, too, our boy Steve Avila, there's a big Steve Avila. These are big Steve Avila households here.
Yes.
Last week didn't have his best game against the Ravens. He's going up against Jonathan Allen. And with Sweat and Chase gone, Allen, that's their best pass rusher. He leads the Commanders with 40 pressures on the season. Avila is going to be matched up with him most of the time. You see some Shelton in there, of course. But looking for Avila to have a nice bounce back game and really kind of get a third wind towards the end of the season as a rookie. I know he's a rookie, no at that position's not very easy, but I think this guy has the in him, and I think this is the game to really get him back on track and start building that momentum again.
I love how you put it. It really would be like we got off to such a good start, and there's a little bit of regression, and then he kind of figured it out, and I think that's why I'm incredibly optimistic about what's coming next for him. He's a really good football player that learns very quickly. When all of a sudden it's not working the way it should, he fixed it. And I think he can fix it again. That this is what you're hoping for. I shouldn't say nobody, but very few people just show up and like, oh, I got this. There is a little bit of this up and down, and you want more of a plateau. And his up and downs have been very subtle. He's terrific. Like you said, you and I are both big fans of his. I think that he's going to be a really important part of that O-line for a very long time. But yeah, it starts now, right? And everybody needs to elevate their game. Everybody, even a guy like Avila, who's a rookie, has virtually an entire season under their belt. You need to play a little more consistently, a little bit better, and I think he will.
I absolutely think that he's a beast, and he's gonna get back on track from this one for sure.
Oh yeah.
Kella Witherspoon, Terry McLaurin. McLaurin didn't have a catch last week. He said he was running a lot of cardio. He sounded frustrated after the game. They're gonna try to get him involved. So that's really the one you're looking at offensively. As far as how they could hurt you, Howell can be dangerous at times, breaking the pocket, out of structure, but I still have full confidence in this defense. Now, as far as predictions go, lay it all out there. Rams They are a favorite, almost a touchdown favorite in this one. I think they do cover. I think what we've seen against the Ravens, I think what we've seen against the Browns, I think we're going north of 30. Once again, I got Rams winning 31-20 in this one.
I like that. I 31-20, it's 11 points. Obviously, that's a lot in the NFL. We don't see a ton like that unless the Chargers are involved. By the way,
Chargers.
Goodness, 63. But had the Raiders been bad guys, they get 75 or 80 if they really wanted to pour it on, which kind of wanted them to do it. But that's beside the point. I think the Rams win.
Seriously.
I think that the Rams do.
Was Lance Lynn pitching for the Chargers?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I said that to my son last night. I said, this feels like watching Lance Lynn give up bombs. This is incredible. Like, somebody pull the hook. So somebody get this guy out of here. It was insane. But yeah, I think the Rams win. I think they get to 35, but I do think that they give up some points on their own just because that's the NFL. That's the way. Sam Howell gets sacked a lot. He's also not that bad. I think he's a decent NFL quarterback. I'll go with a 35-28. I think the Rams win. I think that the offense moves. The defense has kind of backslid just a little bit, but I think the Rams win. I think it's relatively comfortable, but I wouldn't mind being wrong about this and have your score be more right.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I'm not the begging type, but I'm going to get on my knees here and just beg. Please, Rams, I'm loving this feeling. I know 2021 is not that long ago, but I love being in the mix at this time of year, watching relevant football. This is not how we need to go out. With all the strides we've made this season, I've used "we" like 5 too many times during this little rant here, but we can't end this season potentially in a home loss to the Commanders, to a Ron Rivera-led team, right? Get this dub. Keep the hope alive.
This would be the worst way to end a season that was surprisingly fun, right?
Yeah.
Like had they just been kind of mid, and I guess maybe they're 6-7. I guess that's the definition of mid. But mid is better than I thought they were going to be, and I think a lot of other people thought they were going to be. The Commanders are not good. The Saints are not good. The Giants are not good. So if you are good, you need to beat these teams, and stubbing your toe this late into the season would be wildly disappointing. Go out there and take care of business.
For sure. And I want to set up that juicy Tommy DeVito versus Stafford. Yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait for it. But that's going to be this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And as always, you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?